Scarcity is not a reality of the world, it is a condition of the mind. It acts like a hypnotic state in which millions live and die without ever questioning its truth. From childhood, most of us are fed a constant stream of limitation. Money is hard to earn, you must struggle for every coin, and there is never enough to share. These ideas, repeated by parents, teachers, media, and peers, sink into the subconscious, becoming invisible chains that confine a person to a narrow life experience. The real tragedy is that this belief in scarcity has no relation to the universe's actual abundance. It is simply a false picture stamped onto the inner mind, and because the subconscious always reproduces what it is given, outer life reflects this inner sense of lack. Imagine standing knee-deep in a rushing river, water flowing endlessly, yet holding an empty cup while asking for a drink. This is the essence of scarcity, surrounded by infinite supply, but blinded by inner belief you never reach down to drink. Instead, you repeat the story. There's not enough for me. This belief becomes law in your life, not because it is true, but because the subconscious accepts it and shapes every financial outcome to fit it. Sacred texts remind us, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. Fullness means nothing missing, nothing lacking, an overflowing supply. Yet if the subconscious is programmed with ideas of shortage, a person can stand in the middle of abundance and still feel empty. The problem is never with divine supply, it lies within the receiver. When the inner receiver is set to low capacity, the river of wealth cannot pour through, no matter how much flows around you. The illusion of scarcity keeps the mind trapped in comparison and competition. You measure your worth against others, fear that their gain reduces yours, and live in constant tension as if life were a battlefield. This mindset blinds you to opportunities, blocks intuition, and keeps you stuck in work that feels like burden instead of joyful creation. Freedom begins when you recognize scarcity for what it is, a mental illusion. There is no universal law of lack, only a law of mind that faithfully reproduces what you plant in it. When you plant a new seed, the belief in abundance, the subconscious obeys that as well. The river remains, waiting for you to drink deeply. Carry this affirmation forward. I stand in the river of God's abundance, and I open my mind to receive without limit. For generations we have been told that wealth comes through harder work, longer hours and greater struggle than those around us. We were taught to measure value in sweat, time, and exhaustion, as if the universe were a harsh overseer handing out coins only to the most worn and weary. While discipline, effort, and excellence matter, they are not the true source of lasting wealth. Countless men and women work tirelessly from dawn until night, pouring out their strength, yet remain no closer to freedom or prosperity. Their lives reveal a hidden truth. Without the right inner design, outer labor cannot create lasting abundance. The reason lies in spiritual law. As the prophet said, "Not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord of hosts." This is not a rejection of human effort, but a reminder of the true source of increase. The might and power refer to outward force, the conscious mind trying to control results through sheer will. But spirit, the divine intelligence behind all creation, works from within through the subconscious. And if the subconscious holds a pattern of lack, no amount of outer work can overcome it. A seed of poverty planted within will yield its kind, no matter the soil. Think of a builder working from a flawed blueprint. No matter how skilled his tools or how long he labors, the finished structure reflects the errors in the plan. The subconscious mind is that blueprint. It sets the limits of wealth long before money changes hands. When impressed with a clear, steady image of abundance, outer results come naturally, often with less effort than you thought required. Opportunities arise, ideas surface, and support appears, not because you force them into being, but because your inner pattern attracts. them into your life. This explains why some people seem to succeed with ease, while others struggle under the same conditions. Those who achieve effortlessly still work, but their efforts are inspired, guided, and multiplied by inner alignment with wealth. They are not resisting the current, they are moving with it. In contrast, those who work without inner harmony are like rowers battling against the tide, burning energy just to remain in place. The invitation is to stop struggling against the current of your subconscious programming. You do not need to abandon work. You need to align it with the inner law that governs increase. When you do, work becomes joyful, creative, and far more effective. The 3 spiritual words you are about to learn serve as the switch that changes your inner current, allowing your efforts to flow in harmony with unseen forces already moving in your favor. Affirmation to carry forward. It is not by might nor by power, but by spirit that my wealth appears, and my work is guided by divine law. Before divine wealth can flow into your life, you must identify and release the hidden barriers that block it, what I call wealth blockers. These are not external obstacles, though they may appear outside. They are patterns of thought and feeling rooted in the subconscious, shaping your financial reality daily. Left unchecked, these patterns can cancel even the strongest affirmations and the most disciplined action. They act like unseen dams across the river of supply, and until they are cleared, wealth appears only as a trickle rather than the full stream that is your birthright. The first and most common blocker is the fear of success. Many people unconsciously dread what abundance may bring. They fear wealth might distance them from loved ones, attract envy, or create responsibilities they feel unprepared to handle. This fear creates an inner conflict. Consciously, they desire more, yet unconsciously, they resist it. The subconscious, seeking balance, resolves the tension by keeping them close to, but never fully reaching, their goals. The second major blocker is guilt about money. This often develops in childhood within families or religious circles where wealth was spoken of as corrupt, selfish, or spiritually inferior to poverty. Such conditioning convinces the subconscious that having more is morally wrong. To protect that belief, it may cause self-sabotage, giving away money, undercharging for work, or making choices that lead to loss, just to stay aligned with the idea that wealth is unworthy. The third blocker is inherited poverty beliefs. These are generational patterns passed down through family stories, not assets. Phrases like, "people like us never get ahead," or "we must work twice as hard for half as much," become part of identity. And because identity strongly drives subconscious behavior, these poverty beliefs can persist for decades unless consciously removed and replaced. Each blocker operates the same way. The subconscious accepts it as truth and arranges circumstances to match. The key to remember is these are not personal flaws. They are outdated mental programs. The moment you recognize them, change becomes possible. Awareness is the first crack in the dam, letting new ideas and truths flow in. The 3 spiritual words you will soon learn bypass these blockers entirely. They don't wrestle with fear, guilt, or inherited belief. They overwrite them with a higher command so powerful that old patterns naturally lose their hold. Spoken with conviction, they create an immediate shift, and the river of supply begins to flow more freely. Affirmation to carry forward. Every false belief about wealth is dissolved now, and my mind is open to receive the fullness of divine supply. To illustrate how subtle and powerful these wealth blockers can be, let me share the story of Daniel, a capable entrepreneur with a strong work ethic, loyal customers, and a quality product. Yet month after month, he barely broke even, or worse, fell short. Opportunities arose, but deals collapsed, suppliers withdrew, or sudden expenses erased profits. From the outside, it seemed like bad luck. Inside, Daniel felt as though something invisible was holding him back. When we examined his situation, I asked him to share honestly how he felt about wealth and success, not what he thought he should say, but what he truly believed. At first, he repeated affirmations. I want to be wealthy. I deserve success. But then he admitted something deeper. I'm afraid that if I earn too much, my friends will resent me. I've seen it happen to others. That unspoken fear of success had been quietly cancelling his conscious desire. We traced it back to his youth, when he saw his father's friend inherit wealth. Within a year, that man's friendships dissolved, and he became withdrawn. Daniel absorbed the lesson. Wealth separates you from those you love. Without realizing it, he carried this belief into adulthood, and his subconscious protected him by limiting his income. I explained to Daniel that his subconscious was not an enemy, but a servant carrying out what it believed to be his true wish. The solution was not to fight against it, but to give it a higher instruction, one affirming both abundance and connection. This is where the 3 spiritual words came in. By speaking them daily with conviction, Daniel rewrote the belief, teaching his subconscious that wealth could be a channel for generosity and shared joy, not separation. Within weeks, the shift was evident. A long-pending contract finally closed. An investor aligned with his vision stepped forward. His revenue doubled, then tripled, not because he changed his business model, but because the inner blockage was gone. The river of supply, long dammed, was finally flowing freely. Daniel's story reminds us that the walls blocking abundance may come from forgotten fears or beliefs. But once breached, through insight, release, or higher spiritual truth, the flow is restored. And as we move into the practice of the 3 spiritual words, you will see how powerfully this restoration can occur, even after years of effort. With little result, affirmation to carry forward. I release every hidden fear about wealth, and I open the vault of my subconscious to the free flow of divine abundance. Before applying the 3 spiritual words, you must prepare the inner ground in which they will be planted. This is not a formality, it is essential. You must clear away past disappointments, emotional clutter, and old fears to create a receptive state of mind where the words can sink deeply without resistance. If planted in a mind still tangled with yesterday's worries, they will compete with old beliefs, slowing or reducing the results. Think of a master gardener preparing soil. Before planting, they clear debris, turn the earth to let in air and light, and enrich it with nutrients. This is exactly what you must do with your inner garden before planting the seeds of abundance. The debris here refers to the mental replay of past financial struggles, the self-criticism over mistakes, the resentment toward others who seem to have more, and the habit of scanning life for lack instead of abundance. Each of these must be gently removed, for they do not belong in the fertile ground where your new wealth consciousness will grow. One of the simplest and most effective ways to prepare this inner ground is through a short release practice. Each evening before bed, sit quietly with a notebook or a sheet of paper. At the top, write, I release this now. Then, without holding back, list every worry, frustration, or doubt about money, success, or your ability to receive. Let the writing flow freely. This is not for anyone else's eyes. When complete, read the list aloud once with the clear intent that these thoughts are no longer yours to carry. Then tear the paper into pieces or safely burn it, watching as these symbols of past burdens dissolve. This physical act signals to the subconscious that a real clearing has occurred. In the morning, when the mind is fresh and unburdened by sleep, spend a few moments affirming your readiness to receive. You might declare, my mind is open, my heart is ready, and my life is a fertile field for divine ideas. This morning practice softens and opens the soil, preparing it for the planting of the 3 spiritual words. By pairing nightly release with morning openness, you create a rhythm of clearing and receiving that keeps your inner atmosphere ready for new growth. When the inner ground is prepared this way, the 3 words take root more quickly and more deeply. From the very first repetition, you may sense an inner yes, a signal that the subconscious has accepted the seed and that the law of growth is already at work. Affirmation to carry forward. I clear the soil of my mind each night, and each morning I welcome the seeds of divine abundance. The law of abundance is not a fanciful idea, nor a promise for a chosen few. It is the fundamental order of creation. Everything in the universe, from galaxies in motion to cells renewing in your body, operates on the principle of overflow. Consider the trees in spring. They do not produce one blossom and stop. They cover themselves in thousands of flowers, each containing countless seeds. The ocean does not ration its waves. It rolls in ceaselessly without end. The sun does not limit its light. It shines freely on all, without distinction. This is the nature of the divine. It gives continuously, without loss, effort, or limit. When the psalmist wrote, "The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof," it was not metaphor but truth. Fullness means nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing withheld. It is the inexhaustible supply of ideas, opportunities, resources, and channels through which your needs and desires can be met. To live in lack is not to live in alignment with the truth of creation. It is to live under the spell of a false belief, one impressed upon the subconscious and then reflected outward. Abundance is not created by effort. It already exists in the unseen realm, awaiting your recognition and acceptance. The law of abundance states you can only receive what you are prepared to receive. If your inner receptacle is small, if your subconscious expects little, the flow from the infinite reservoir will match that expectation. But when you expand your inner capacity through new beliefs, confident declarations, and the steady repetition of spiritual truth, the flow increases accordingly. You must see yourself not as a beggar at heaven's gate pleading for scraps, but as a rightful heir, moving with confidence through the halls of your inheritance. The divine will is not to give in fragments or barely enough, but in fullness. The only condition is your acceptance, and acceptance is an inner act, not an outer one. When the subconscious accepts abundance as the natural state of life, the outer channels through which it appears open naturally. This is why the 3 spiritual words you will soon learn are so powerful. They are not requests, they are acknowledgements. They do not plead with the universe for something unfinished. Instead, they align you with what has always been true. They open the inner gates so abundance can flow freely. And because the law of abundance is impartial, it responds directly to the belief most strongly impressed upon it. The moment you affirm abundance within, this law begins shaping it into visible reality. Affirmation to carry forward. The fullness of the earth is mine to receive, and I live in the overflow of God's endless supply. The law of the word is one of the oldest and most enduring spiritual principles, yet it is often overlooked when pursuing wealth. Scripture clearly states, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof." This is not poetic decoration. It is a precise description of spiritual law. The words you speak, whether aloud or in silent thought, are not idle sounds. They are energetic instructions the subconscious accepts as blueprints. Once imprinted, those blueprints shape your outer life with unfailing accuracy. Every word carries the seed of creation. The moment it is spoken or even thought, it begins rooting in the fertile soil of the subconscious. And since the subconscious does not distinguish between jokes, complaints, or serious declarations, every word is received as instruction. Repeated statements such as, "I can't afford that," or "money never lasts for me," plant weeds in your inner garden, and those weeds will grow just as surely as the roses you desire. In ancient Hebrew and early Christian understanding, the word was more than speech. It was the active power of God in motion. Logos, the creative principle, was understood as the force through which all things came into being. The word became flesh means that what is declared through thought and speech eventually manifests in physical form. Speaking with faith, gratitude, and certainty activates this same creative power, setting in motion a chain of events that brings your declaration into reality. The challenge arises when people speak without awareness. Many unintentionally cancel their affirmations by letting careless words dominate their day. They may begin with a declaration of abundance, but by afternoon they speak with equal passion about bills, debts, or economic hardship. The subconscious does not filter. It simply accepts the dominant impression, especially the one most charged with emotion. A worried statement expressed with intensity can outweigh an affirmation spoken mechanically. This is why the law of the word requires deliberate speech. Each statement should align with the reality you wish to create. This is not about suppression, it is about conscious creation. Once you realize your words carry authority, you refuse to plant anything in your inner soil that you would not welcome to grow. The three spiritual words central to this teaching are the clearest form of such declarations. Simple, direct, and unmistakable, they bypass conflicting beliefs and reach the subconscious with power. Spoken with conviction, they shift you from begging to creating, from wishing to claiming what already exists in the unseen. In this way, your words manifest, not someday, but as quickly as the law of mind allows. Affirmation to carry forward. I guard my tongue as I guard my life, for my words are seeds that shape my world. The law of acceptance works hand in hand with the law of the word. No decree takes root unless it is inwardly received as truth. The subconscious does not create simply because you speak. It creates when you accept what you speak as real, present, and inevitable. Acceptance is the inner yes that seals the instruction, much like a signature on a contract. Without it, words remain unplanted seeds, mere sound and vibration that drift away. To accept means to embody the feeling that what you desire is already yours. This explains why Jesus spoke in the present tense about prayer. What things soever ye desire when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. Notice the order. Believe you receive, and then you will have. Most people reverse this, waiting for proof before allowing themselves to feel they have received. But the law of mind is not triggered by waiting. It is activated by believing. The subconscious aligns itself with the state you occupy most consistently. When that state is one of already having, it works faithfully to bring your circumstances into alignment with that truth. Many people struggle with affirmations, not because they lack effort, but because they treat their words as distant wishes rather than present realities. They say, "I will be wealthy one day," and the subconscious translates this as "not now." Since "not now" becomes the dominant signal, it continues shaping their lives in that way. Acceptance requires removing the gap between desire and fulfillment in your inner world. It means refusing to see your good as distant, delayed, or conditional. Imagine receiving a gift from someone you fully trust. You don't question it, you don't doubt it, you simply take it with gratitude. That is acceptance, embracing what is given without hesitation or demand for proof. When you accept divine wealth in this way, without doubt or delay, you show the subconscious that the matter is already resolved. And when the subconscious accepts it as settled, external conditions begin to realign. The three spiritual words you are about to learn directly invoke this principle. They are both a declaration and an act of acceptance. When spoken, they not only proclaim wealth, but embody the state of already possessing it. This is why they act so quickly. They leave no room for postponement, no chance for the subconscious to file the request under later. They bring the experience into the only place where creation truly occurs. Acceptance is not passive resignation. It is active agreement with truth. It is standing in abundance even before evidence appears, knowing this very stance accelerates its arrival. Mastering acceptance allows wealth to flow in ways you could not predict, because the law works freely through countless channels once. Resistance is gone. Affirmation to carry forward. I accept divine wealth now without question or delay. My life reflects my acceptance. Why 3 words? Why not 4, 6, or more? The simplicity of 3 is intentional. It is woven into creation and spiritual law. Across scripture, sacred architecture, and mystical traditions, the number 3 symbolizes wholeness, completion, and divine authority. In Christianity, the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, represents the fullness of God's nature in 3 aspects. In manifestation, 3 reflects the movement from idea to word to form. It is the number of agreement, the point where heaven and earth join to create results in the material world. In the subconscious, 3 carries balance. A single word may be too narrow, easily challenged by doubt. 2 words may fall into duality, inviting conflict. But 3 creates stability, a tripod of meaning that stands firm even under pressure. This is why great truths are often spoken. In 3s, ask and it shall be given, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened. Each phrase reinforces the others, creating rhythm and authority that the subconscious accepts. When you speak 3 words, you engage the subconscious. In a complete circuit, the first word opens the channel, the second directs the flow, and the third seals the instruction in the present. The 3 words you're about to learn follow this exact design: identity, action, and timing. The first affirms who you are in relation to the infinite. The second declares possession. The third fixes the manifestation in the eternal now. This triadic form resonates with the body's energy system. Spoken aloud, the 3 words create a natural rhythm that calms the nervous system and sharpens focus. Whispered in silence, they act like a tuning fork, bringing mind, emotion, and spirit into harmony. Because the subconscious is especially responsive to rhythm and repetition, a phrase of 3 words imprints more quickly and deeply than a longer one. Even physically, 3 represents stability. A stool with 3 legs remains firm even on uneven ground, while 4 may wobble. In the same way, a 3-word decree holds steady power even when life circumstances are shifting. This is why, when spoken with conviction, the 3 words anchor you in abundance regardless of appearances. The divine logic of 3 is not clever phrasing or verbal trick. It is alignment with a universal pattern that has existed since the beginning of time. When you consciously step into this pattern, it carries you toward your good. Affirmation to carry forward. I speak the divine pattern of 3, and my words stand as unshakable truth in my life. We now arrive at the threshold, a moment of anticipation when the heart beats faster, sensing something precious is about to be entrusted. Before these words are spoken, however, it is vital to approach them with reverence. They are not ordinary words to be repeated absent-mindedly. They are a precise key, cut to fit the lock of your subconscious. Like a key, they must be turned. With intent, spoken with awareness, purpose, and stillness that knows they carry divine authority. When I first taught this method, I noticed a clear pattern. Those who prepared their minds, quieting doubt, clearing inner noise, centering in expectancy, saw results within days, sometimes hours. Those who rushed past preparation, treating the words as a trick, found them limited by their belief. The difference was not in the words, but in how they were received. A seed alone does not create harvest. It depends on the soil where it is planted. He approached this moment as if stepping into a sacred chamber. Picture a great golden door glowing with eternal light. Behind it lies a treasure room filled with resources, opportunities, ideas, and connections beyond what you can imagine. The door is not locked to keep you out. It opens from within. The 3 words you are about to receive are the key. When spoken with faith, they will unlock the door. They are not revealed too soon because the mind must ripen. Scarcity illusions must be recognized, inner blocks acknowledged, and the laws of abundance understood. Without this preparation, the words may seem too simple to hold power, but when the ground is ready, simplicity becomes strength. They will resonate as something you always knew but had forgotten. So, take a deep breath. Release hesitation. Say within, I am ready. Let these words settle inside you, signaling to the subconscious that the moment has arrived. In this stillness, prepare to receive 3 spiritual words that, when spoken with conviction and repeated with joy, will reprogram your mind for wealth and open divine supply. Affirmation to carry forward. I am ready to receive the key, and I will guard and use it with faith and gratitude. The first word is the most personal, powerful, and sacred. I. With this single syllable, you step into the center of creation. It declares your being. Across all languages and times, I affirms identity. It's not merely a pronoun, it is consciousness itself, the point where awareness meets existence. When Moses asked the divine name at the burning bush, the answer was, I am that I am. In this lies the truth that every I spoken by a child of God echoes the infinite I am. To say I is to claim authorship of your experience. It is the moment when you stop assigning cause to others, to fate or to chance, and instead recognize the power within. This is why it is the first of the 3 words. It unlocks self-recognition. Without I, there is no claim, no ownership, no connection to the spiritual law that activates the rest. When spoken as a spiritual decree, I does not come from the small self shaped by doubt or struggle. It comes from the higher self, the divine, likeness in which you were created. It invokes the eternal identity that cannot be diminished by circumstances. The self that was already rich in spirit before ever holding material wealth. In this way, I is not a plea, it is a coronation. You place the crown upon your own head and step into the household of divine abundance. Many stumble at the doorway of manifestation because they speak powerful words without grounding them in the authority of I. They talk of wealth as something external, separate from themselves, as if it were granted by chance or earned through appeasement. But when you begin with I, you connect directly to the flow. You recognize that creation begins within and then moves outward. You align with the truth that consciousness is the cause and the world around you is the effect. Speak I with steady breath, letting it resonate in your chest. Feel its authority, its depth, its timeless truth. In that one syllable, you stand in the lineage of prophets, mystics, and teachers who knew the kingdom of God is within, and that to claim it, one must first declare their place in it. This first word signals the subconscious to listen, to accept, and to act, because it recognizes the command comes from rightful authority, you. Affirmation to carry forward. I am the center of my creation, the point where God's infinite abundance flows into form. The second word builds the bridge between knowing who you are and experiencing what is already yours. Receive. This changes your posture from reaching to welcoming, from striving to allowing. To receive is not to beg, bargain, or struggle. It is to open the heart and let the abundance that has always been present flow into your life without resistance. The moment you say receive, you dismantle the walls of fear, doubt, and unworthiness, giving the subconscious a clear instruction. This is mine now. I accept it fully. Spiritually, receiving is not passive. It is active consent to the law of supply. Scripture says, "Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened." Too many stop at asking, forgetting that the second half is inner acceptance, the readiness to take what is offered. The universe may bring endless opportunities, yet if your inner self does not say yes, they pass by unseen. Receive is that yes, the agreement that says, "I welcome the good that is mine by divine right." The vibration of receive is not the same as get or take. To get implies struggle and pursuit. To take suggests grasping and fear of scarcity. But to receive is to trust in infinite supply, knowing there is no need to cling or compete. It is opening the vault of divine abundance, allowing what belongs to you to appear freely and in perfect order. When you follow I with receive, you affirm that you are the rightful heir to abundance and willing to let it in. Many falter not because supply is absent, but because they unconsciously resist it, held back by guilt or fear of change. But receive overrides those voices, giving the subconscious an undeniable command. Open the gates. Practice saying it slowly, with an upward tone, as though opening a window to the morning sun. Notice the release of tension as you shift from close to open, from doubt to welcome. Imagine drawing in streams of golden light with each breath, filling you with health, ideas, and opportunities, while each exhale makes room for more. Receive is the turning point. It transforms I from a declaration into lived abundance. It is the seed meeting soil, the key turning in the lock, the door swinging open. Without it, I remains only a statement. With it, I becomes the opening for creation. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive the fullness of God's abundance now, and I welcome it into every part of my life. The third word is the seal, the final act that completes the circuit of power and fixes your declaration in the only time creation knows, the eternal now. Without this word, your decree drifts into the future, always just beyond reach. The subconscious does not operate on someday. It follows the state you hold in the present. Saying now erases the gap between desire and fulfillment, affirming that what you declare already exists and must be experienced immediately. Spiritually, now is not just a point on a clock, it is the timeless present in which God acts. When Moses asked for the divine name, the answer was not "I will be" or "I was," but "I am." That is the language of creation. To place now at the end of your decree aligns you with the eternal present, the realm in which all things are already accomplished. This is why Scripture teaches, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Believe you already have it, past tense, while holding that belief in the living present. Yet the human mind, conditioned by time, often pushes fulfillment forward. I will be wealthy when, or I'll feel free after. Such thinking keeps the result always pending. It's like blessings stored away with no release date. Now changes that. It signals immediate release, declaring that nothing stands in the way, that the gift is already in your hands. When you say now, after I receive, you issue a command that connects the unseen with the seen. This is already mine, and I live in it today. The subconscious, bound to obey, arranges your thoughts, actions, encounters, and environment to match this state. Each repetition of now strengthens the sense of immediacy until it becomes natural to think and act as one who already has. Speak now with finality, like sealing a royal decree. Feel the certainty, the closure, the knowing that no further delay is needed. In that moment, you move from hoping for abundance to living in it, from aspiring to possessing. You have given your subconscious no option but to accept the condition as real and to fulfill it with precision. When the three words unite, I receive now, you sense the wholeness of the statement. Identity confirmed, action taken, timing established. It is a formula the subconscious recognizes immediately and obeys without hesitation. And when spoken, with the certainty of one who knows their inheritance, it opens channels you never realized were there, bringing into your life visible evidence of what you have affirmed. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now, and the abundance of God fills my life in this very moment. When combined, the three words, I receive now, form a declaration so clear and complete that the subconscious has no room for doubt, delay, or misinterpretation. It is the spiritual equivalent of turning a key in a lock, opening the vault of infinite supply, and stepping inside as its rightful heir. The strength of this phrase is not only its simplicity, but its precision. Each word plays an essential role, and together they form a complete cycle of creation rooted in the present moment. Think of this phrase as a divine equation. The first word, I, establishes identity, grounding you in the awareness of your creative authority as a child of the infinite. The second word, receive, activates allowance, opening mind and heart to the flow that constantly seeks to enter your life. The third word now fixes the manifestation in the present, removing all distance between you and what you desire. Remove one element and the circuit weakens. Keep them together, and you have a living formula for manifestation, applicable to wealth, health, relationships, or any form of good you choose to experience. When you speak, I receive now, you are not asking the universe for permission, nor projecting your good into some vague future. You are claiming what has already been given, stepping into the flow of abundance that has been moving toward you from the beginning, but may have been blocked by old, limiting beliefs. This statement instructs the subconscious to dissolve those barriers, not tomorrow, not when you feel more prepared, but immediately. And since the subconscious cannot distinguish between reality and deeply accepted belief, it reorganizes both your inner state and your outer circumstances to reflect the truth you have declared. The first time you speak these words with awareness, you may feel a subtle shift, like a quiet door opening within your mind. With repetition, that shift deepens into a strong sense of possession, as though what you once desired is already here, simply waiting for acknowledgement. Soon enough, external evidence will follow. A conversation leading to an unexpected opportunity, a bill resolved in surprising ways, or a profitable idea appearing fully formed. These are not accidents. They are the natural outworking of a new command impressed on the law of your being. It is important to speak, I receive now, slowly and with presence, letting each word resonate deeply. Whisper it as you wake. Declare it with confidence during the day, and murmur it before sleep, allowing it to echo in your mind as you drift into the subconscious realm where creation begins. Over time, the phrase will rise in you unprompted, becoming a steady foundation in your consciousness. And when that happens, you will have crossed a threshold, not merely from lack to wealth, but from separation to union with the infinite storehouse of God. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now. Identity, allowance, and immediacy are one within me, and wealth flows without end. Why does this three-word decree work with such accuracy? The reason lies in the alignment it creates between spiritual law, psychological principle, and the natural workings of the subconscious mind. Spiritually, I receive now affirms the eternal truth that supply is already complete in God, and humanity's role is not to create abundance, but to accept it. This reflects the divine pattern. The Creator provides, the creation receives. Psychologically, the phrase bypasses the limiting filters of the conscious mind by being short, precise, and emotionally charged. It leaves no room for if, when, or how, preventing the mind from weakening it with doubt or delay. For the subconscious, these words are a direct order, clear, concise, and without contradiction. The subconscious does not reason. It accepts. When you say I, the subconscious instantly identifies it as self-definition. Adding receive activates its natural drive toward completion, prompting it to seek ways to fulfill what you've declared. Closing with now locks the statement into the present, the only moment in which the mind can operate. Together, these three words deliver a clear and unified message. This is already mine, and I am experiencing it. This decree resonates because it aligns with the universal law of cause and effect. Your inner state, your beliefs, emotions, and accepted truths serves as the cause. The circumstances of your outer world are the effect. Most people attempt to change external results while leaving their inner state untouched, which leads to temporary gains followed by repeated setbacks. I receive now reverses this pattern by shifting the cause directly. It installs a new dominant belief in the subconscious, which naturally produces matching external experiences. You may already be familiar with affirmations, perhaps even use them with uneven results. The difference here lies not just in brevity, but in completeness and immediacy. Many affirmations are like seeds without water or light, expressing a desire without anchoring it in the present. I receive now is both seed and water, planting and harvest. It engages both the conscious and subconscious mind at once, creating a unified vibration the law of mind cannot resist. When paired with consistent, feeling-filled repetition, momentum builds day by day. The subconscious begins to accept this new state as normal, rejecting anything that does not align with it. Suddenly, opportunities, ideas, and resources that once seemed invisible appear as if lit by a spotlight. The world doesn't change. You do. Affirmation to carry forward. The law of my mind is faithful. I declare, I receive now, and my world reflects it without delay. Let me share 3 testimonies that reveal how powerfully this decree works when applied with sincerity and consistency. The first is the story of a merchant's turnaround. Thomas, a seasoned shop owner, had served his community for over 2 decades. In the early years, his store prospered. Customers filled the aisles, and his days were steady and satisfying. But over time, competition grew, costs rose, and his once thriving shop entered a slow decline. He tried every external method: sales, promotions, advertising campaigns, redesigning the store, but none produced more than short-term results. Savings shrank, debts piled up, and he began to fear permanent closure. When Thomas came to me, he carried the weight of years of effort. Without reward, his words revealed the subconscious program running in the background. Phrases like these are hard times and you can't fight the big chains. Though he still loved his work, beneath it all was resignation, the belief that his best days were behind him. I explained that no marketing strategy would succeed until the inner blueprint shifted. Then I gave him the 3 words: I receive now. His instructions were simple: repeat them upon waking, throughout the day whenever fear appeared, and before sleep, pairing the words with the image of a store once again alive with customers. The first 2 days felt awkward. His mind kept drifting back to worry, but he persisted, repeating the words calmly, imagining shelves turning over quickly, transactions being made, and customers filling the space. By the 3rd day, his mood felt lighter, a subtle shift from dread to expectation. On the 4th day, an old supplier who had stopped working with him unexpectedly called, offering favorable terms on products previously out of reach. The next day, a local influencer featured his store online without being asked, drawing a surge of new visitors. By the 7th day, his weekly revenue had more than doubled. Nothing external had forced this change. It began when he shifted his inner state, as Thomas said. It felt like the tide turned all at once. I didn't push, I opened. That is the essence of this decree. He stopped wrestling with external problems and started commanding his inner reality with I receive now. His experience is not unusual. It is the natural outcome of aligning the inner cause with the desired outer effect. The moment you accept abundance as present, the law of mind gathers every resource needed to make it visible. You don't need to know which door will open, only that the opening already exists. Affirmation to carry forward. As I declare, I receive now. Doors open, channels flow, and supply rushes to meet me. The second testimony comes from Clara, a single mother of 2 who had been carrying the heavy weight of financial survival for years. Working 2 part-time jobs with no security or benefits, she still found herself juggling overdue bills month after month. She often described her life as running on empty, in her bank account and in her body. Friends admired her resilience, but privately, she felt trapped in a cycle where every extra dollar was consumed instantly by a new expense. When Clara first heard I receive now, her reaction was skepticism. It sounds too simple, she admitted. But simplicity was exactly what she needed. Something steady to hold on to in the middle of a chaotic life. I instructed her to repeat the phrase every morning before her feet touched the floor, to let it ground her during the day, and to close each night by pairing the words with a clear image of financial ease. Seeing bills paid with gratitude, a pantry stocked with ease, and even money set aside for the future. The first few days brought no visible change in her circumstances, yet she felt an immediate difference in her mood. Instead of waking with the heavy dread she was used to, she began to feel a quiet sense of anticipation, as if something good was moving toward her. On the 5th day, a friend she hadn't spoken to in years reached out, suggesting she apply for an administrative role at his company. It was full-time, came with benefits, and paid more than both of her part-time jobs combined. She interviewed on the 7th day, and the moment she stepped into the office, it felt like home. By the end of the week, she was offered the job. When she accepted, her mind returned to the countless times she had whispered, I receive now in her car, between shifts, holding on to the feelings of relief and gratitude as if they were already real. Clara realized that the phrase itself hadn't made the job appear. It had shifted her inner state, allowing her to finally recognize and step into opportunities that had always been around her. Even more remarkable, within her first month at the new job, she received a surprise bonus for helping resolve a major scheduling issue. Instead of spending the extra money to catch up on expenses, as she might have in the past, she followed her new mindset and placed part of it into her first ever emergency fund. She later shared, "It feels like I've left survival mode and entered a life where I can finally breathe." Clara's story shows that I receive now does not depend on current resources or outward conditions. It works because it changes the inner cause, which inevitably shifts the outer effect. Once you live in the vibration of receiving, you naturally attract the people, situations, and ideas that align with it. Affirmation to carry forward. I live in the vibration of receiving, and my life opens to supply from every direction. The third testimony comes from Aaron, a talented painter whose art carried deep emotion and beauty, yet who struggled to find buyers. For years, he lived in a small studio apartment surrounded by canvases he called his children, works of care and passion that sat unseen and unsold. Although friends praised his gift, he secretly believed that earning a living from art was a privilege reserved for a rare few, and that he wasn't one of them. That belief became a barrier, keeping him limited to small local shows and modest sales, far from the life of freedom he longed for. When Aaron was introduced to I Receive Now, he was intrigued but doubtful. "I've tried affirmations before," he admitted, "but they never seemed to stick." I explained that this phrase was different, not about forcing belief in something distant, but about embodying the reality of receiving in the present. His instructions were clear. Each morning, stand before his latest painting, say the words, and imagine it had just sold for more than he had ever expected. Each night, repeat them again, picturing himself shipping it to a joyful collector. In the first week, nothing visible changed, but something inside him did. The heaviness he once felt toward his unsold work began to lift. Instead of feeling like silent reminders of failure, the paintings appeared as treasures waiting for their rightful owners. That shift in perspective encouraged him to take a step he had avoided for years, applying to a respected online art marketplace he had dismissed as beyond his reach. Within days, he was accepted. 2 weeks later, one of his larger works was purchased by a buyer overseas for double his previous record. Sale. Over the next month, 3 more paintings found homes through the same platform. Aaron later told me, "It felt like the world suddenly noticed me, but really, I was the one who noticed first." His use of I Receive Now quietly dismantled his old belief that abundance was for others and replaced it with the conviction that he was just as worthy. Even his creative process shifted. He began painting more freely, less concerned about what might sell, and more focused on the joy of expression. That joy infused his work with energy that drew in even more interest. As he put it, "I used to paint hoping for a buyer. Now I paint knowing the right buyer is already on the way." Aaron's story shows how I Receive Now not only produces material results, but also renews confidence, clears mental barriers, and channels inspiration. The wealth it brings is measured not only in money, but also in the deep satisfaction of living with purpose, free from the shadow of lack. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now, and my gifts flow into the world in perfect timing and perfect abundance. When we place these 3 testimonies side by side, the merchant, the single mother, and the artist, a pattern appears that reveals the true nature of this decree's power. Though their outward situations were very different, the inner mechanics of their change were the same. Each began in a state of limitation, restricted by subconscious beliefs about what they could have. For Thomas, it was resignation and an invisible ceiling on his business. For Clara, it was survival thinking that left no space for growth. For Aaron, it was the idea that abundance was reserved for a select few. They had each been operating under inner laws they never chose, but unconsciously obeyed. I Receive Now didn't drop wealth into their laps. It rewrote the script their subconscious had been following. The words bypassed years of resistance because they were simple enough to avoid argument, whole enough to stand as truth, and rooted in the present to dissolve the illusion of delay. Repeating them allowed each person to step into a new identity. The merchant who expected sales, the mother who anticipated ease, the artist who trusted his buyers were on the way. And since identity shapes behavior, their actions naturally aligned with their new inner states, without struggle or overthinking. Another shared thread was the arrival of what seemed like unexpected opportunities. The supplier's call, the friend's job offer, the overseas buyer. These didn't appear from nowhere. They had always existed within the field of possibility. They became visible only after the inner atmosphere shifted. This point is crucial. Wealth is not something created from nothing, but something we align with, something we allow into form by matching its frequency within ourselves. I receive now is the switch that tunes us to that frequency. What stands out is that none of them had to push harder, hustle more, or drastically change their external circumstances before the shift began. In fact, the transformation started within, and their outward actions, Thomas reconnecting with suppliers, Clara attending the interview, Aaron applying online, were simply natural expressions of their new identity. The decree didn't tell them which doors to knock on. It unlocked the awareness that the right doors were already opening. This is why the decree works across industries and circumstances. It's not about external details, but about the universal law of the mind. Change the inner cause, and the effect must follow, no matter how unlikely it may seem at first. And when you affirm, "I receive now," with calm certainty, as though stating a fact, the law of mind responds in kind. Affirmation 2. Carry forward. The law of mind is impartial. As I declare, "I receive now," it fulfills my word with precision and abundance. Having seen this law in action through these stories, it's now time to move from inspiration to practice. The next step is to transform "I receive now" from an idea you understand into a living practice that can reshape your experience in just 7 days. This is where the 7-day integration plan becomes your framework. A structure for building a new inner foundation that sustains wealth consciousness. Beyond the first wave of results, the number 7 is not random. It reflects the divine pattern of creation itself. In the Genesis account, God completed creation in 6 days and sanctified the 7th. In the same way, you are to dedicate the next 7 days to consciously forming a new state of being, then resting in the assurance that it is complete. The first and perhaps most important element of this plan is the morning practice. The moments just after waking are sacred for the subconscious mind. In those early minutes, your brain is in the theta state, the same receptive frequency linked with deep meditation and the edge of sleep. This is when the barrier between conscious thought and subconscious acceptance is thinnest. Most people waste this powerful window by reaching for their phones, scanning the news, or replaying their worries. Instead, you will impress your decree upon your inner mind while it is most open. Here's how. The instant you realize you are waking, before opening your eyes, take a deep, unhurried breath. On the inhale, silently affirm, "I receive now." On the exhale, feel gratitude as if the abundance you want has already arrived. Repeat this 3 times, letting the phrase and feeling sink deeper each time. Still in bed, close your eyes again and spend 1 or 2 minutes visualizing a specific scene that represents your wealth fulfilled. Perhaps seeing your bank account with the number you desire, standing in the home you've chosen, or joyfully paying for something in full. Keep the scene vivid, simple, and in the present. By starting your day this way, you set the tone for all that follows. You are no longer approaching the day as someone searching for wealth. You are moving as someone who already has it. This subtle but powerful shift influences your thoughts, words, decisions, and even how you carry yourself. Repetition strengthens the subconscious, so each morning you begin this way makes "I receive now" the default setting of your inner life. If you do nothing else in the plan, let this be the non-negotiable practice. Guard it well, make it a sacred appointment with yourself and the infinite. Over time, you will notice that the rest of your day begins to shape itself around the vibration you set in those first moments. Affirmation to carry forward. Each morning, I awaken to "I receive now," and my day unfolds in the flow of abundance. Second step in your 7-day plan is the midday wealth alignment. a conscious pause halfway through the day to reset your inner atmosphere and stay tuned to receiving. The momentum you create in the morning is powerful, but as the hours pass, outside noise can interfere. Conversations filled with scarcity, fear-driven headlines, or small frustrations pulling you back into old patterns. Without a conscious reset, these influences can erode the clarity you began with. Midday is the perfect time to restore balance. Your mind is still alert, yet you've gathered enough emotional residue from the day to clear away. This practice takes only a few minutes and can be done anywhere, at your desk, in your car, during a short walk, or even in the restroom if privacy is needed. The key is your intent to step out of external distractions and back into the flow of receiving. Here's how. Find a comfortable position and take 3 slow breaths, letting your shoulders relax and your focus turn inward. On the first inhale, think I, grounding yourself in your true identity. On the exhale, release all tension or thoughts of limitation. On the second inhale, think receive, opening your mind and heart wide. On the exhale, release resistance. On the third inhale, think now, anchoring yourself fully in the present. On the exhale, imagine golden light flowing from you, touching everything in your world with increase. If possible, close your eyes and bring to mind a quick image of your abundance, your bank account balance, a smiling face receiving your gift, or the comfort of knowing your needs are fully met. Lock on to that feeling and let it fill your awareness. For a minute or two, this midday alignment serves 2 vital purposes. It breaks any unconscious drift toward scarcity, and it strengthens your subconscious programming by adding repetition and emotion to your decree. Each time you practice, you remind your inner mind that I receive now is not just a morning wish or evening ritual. It is your living state at all times. Over the 7 days, this midday pause will shift from feeling like a task to becoming as refreshing as a cool drink in the desert. It will restore your energy, sharpen your intention, and subtly reshape the rest of your afternoon, so you notice signs of your decree taking form before the day ends. Affirmation to carry forward. In the midst of my day, I return to I receive now, and the flow of abundance is renewed within me. Step 3. Evening visualization. The third step in your 7-day integration plan is evening visualization, a deliberate, sensory-rich immersion into the reality you are creating. The moments before sleep, like those upon waking, are gateways to the subconscious. In this twilight state, your mind is highly receptive, and the impressions you give it echo throughout the night, replaying in the deep workshop of your inner world. This evening practice is not a repetition of the morning, but an amplification. It seals the vibration of the day, so your decree continues working while you rest. To begin, set aside 5 to 10 minutes before bed in a quiet, comfortable space. Dim the lights, remove distractions, and allow this to be your sacred time. The final. Imprint on your subconscious before it takes over the night's work. Sit or lie down, close your eyes, and take 3 slow breaths, releasing the weight of the day. Then speak your decree, I receive now. Say it slowly, letting each word resonate within you. As you do, create a clear scene that reflects your wealth already fulfilled. Avoid vague images. Be specific. If your goal is financial freedom, picture yourself logging into your account and seeing the exact balance you intend. If your vision is a thriving business, imagine celebrating a record month with your team. If it's the home you desire, see yourself walking through it, touching the walls, hearing your steps on the floor. Engage all your senses, hear, smell, touch, taste, and most of all, feel the joy and gratitude of already having received. The stronger the emotion, the more real the scene becomes to the subconscious. Once the vision feels vivid and complete, let it loop a few times like a short film. Keep your decree close, either softly repeating, "I receive now," or letting the words remain quietly in the background. As sleep approaches, release the scene with trust. The subconscious has already taken the instruction and will work to arrange its fulfillment. Over the 7 days, this evening practice multiplies results. Morning sets the tone, midday restores alignment, but evening sends your decree into the fertile space where growth happens unseen. Many find they awaken with new ideas, clarity, or even opportunities, because once given a clear command, the subconscious never rests. Affirmation to carry forward. As I close my eyes in peace, I receive now, and my wealth expands even in the stillness of night. Step 4. Journaling the evidence. The 4th step in your 7-day integration plan is journaling the evidence. This practice transforms subtle progress into undeniable proof for your subconscious. One of the most overlooked aspects of manifestation is recognizing results, large or small, as they appear. Many miss these early signals, and by doing so, they lose the confidence that builds momentum. Journaling the evidence trains you to notice every form of abundance. You are not waiting for a dramatic breakthrough. You're documenting each opening, opportunity, or unexpected ease that arises. These are the building blocks of greater manifestation. Recording them serves 2 purposes. It sharpens your awareness of the law in action and reinforces to your subconscious that "I receive now" is producing results, which accelerates the process. Here's how. Dedicate a notebook or journal just for this practice. Each evening, ideally after your visualization, write down everything that could be considered evidence of receiving: an unexpected gift, a reduced bill, a compliment, a new contact, or simply a lighter, more confident feeling. Nothing is too small. The subconscious does not rank by size. It responds to recognition and repetition. Write in the present tense to anchor the energy of now. Instead of "I got a small refund," write "I receive unexpected money with ease." Instead of "a friend suggested me for a job," write "I receive opportunities that match my talents." This subtle language shift reinforces the decree and keeps your vibration aligned with receiving. Over time, patterns will emerge. Clusters of opportunities, growing financial flow, or repeated support from unexpected places. Reading back strengthens faith, especially on slower days. By the end of the 7 days, your journal becomes more than a record. It is a mirror of your transformation, showing proof in your own handwriting that "I receive now" is not just a phrase, but a living law. And because what is acknowledged multiplies, this habit becomes one of the most powerful accelerators of wealth consciousness. Affirmation to carry forward. Each day I witness and record the signs of my abundance, and my receiving multiplies. Step 5. Final nightly declaration. The 5th and final step of your 7-day integration plan is the nightly declaration, the sacred seal you place on your day before sleep. This practice is more than repeating your decree. It is the closing act of creation, the moment you release your desire to the infinite intelligence of your subconscious. Where evening visualization immerses you in sensory detail, the final declaration is a clear, unwavering command affirming completion. To do this, settle comfortably in bed with lights dim. Take a few deep breaths to calm your body and quiet your mind. Then speak your decree. "I receive now." Deliver it with both gentleness and authority, not forced, not shouted, but with calm certainty as one stating fact. Pause between repetitions, letting the words sink deeply, like stones settling in clear water. Imagine the decree moving beyond conscious thought into the limitless workshop of your subconscious. See it glowing there, surrounded by infinite potential already in action, aligning people, arranging circumstances, and clearing obstacles before they arise. This declaration is your release, your trust that the work is done, and the subconscious is bringing it into form. It is an act of trust in the law that whatever is impressed upon the subconscious through emotion and repetition must eventually appear in the outer world. You are not forcing results. You are affirming that they already exist in the present moment. This trust is vital because the subconscious cannot function freely when the conscious mind interferes with anxiety or doubt. End each practice with a simple gesture of closure, such as placing your hand over your heart, exhaling deeply, and allowing your body to relax. Silently repeat to yourself, "It is done." This phrase does not replace your decree, but serves as a seal, inviting your whole being into the Sabbath rest of creation, where the work is complete and the outcome is inevitable. As you drift into sleep, your decree continues to resonate within, and the subconscious, tireless and unquestioning, spends the night arranging outer evidence. By morning, you may notice subtle shifts, a calmer mood, fresh insights, or opportunities arising without effort. Practiced nightly, this becomes a powerful habit, ensuring each evening supports your manifestation. Affirmation to carry forward. As I declare, I receive now before sleep. The law of mind moves in perfect order, and my wealth flows continuously. At the close of the 7 days, you will have done more than repeat a phrase. You will have reshaped the fabric of your consciousness. Yet at this point, an important decision arises. Will you let the momentum fade, or will you sustain and expand it so that I receive now becomes your permanent state of being? 7 days is enough to spark a shift, but the law of mind works best when it becomes a lasting habit, not a temporary exercise. The goal of this stage is to anchor your new wealth consciousness so firmly that it continues without interruption. The first step is to keep the practice alive, even if its form evolves. You may not need the same intensity of rituals morning, noon, and night, but the decree itself should remain constant. Let I receive now greet you each morning and close your day each night. This consistency ensures the subconscious stays immersed in the receiving state, preventing old patterns from quietly returning. Next, expand your view of wealth beyond money. Understand that the decree can also open channels of health, love, creativity, peace of mind, and every other form of good that belongs to your divine inheritance. When you embrace I receive now as a universal key, you naturally apply it to all areas of life, and each proof of its power strengthens your belief in the law. This creates a self-sustaining cycle. Your results build your faith, and your faith multiplies your results. It is also essential to stay aware of the words you use and the thoughts you accept. After 7 days, you may notice heightened sensitivity to scarcity language, whether from yourself or others. Protect this awareness. It is not a burden, but a sign of transformation. When you encounter such words, avoid engaging or debating. Instead, quietly reaffirm your decree and return to the truth you have installed. I receive now. By doing this, you keep your inner channels clear, even in the presence of external contradictions. Finally, cultivate gratitude daily. Be thankful not only for what has appeared, but also for what is still unseen, trusting that it is already on its way. Gratitude is the partner of receiving, the emotional proof that you have accepted your good. Even the smallest acknowledgement of abundance multiplies its presence. The more you give thanks, the more you will discover to be grateful for. By carrying the essence of the 7-day plan into daily life, you ensure your transformation is not temporary, but lasting. The decree will no longer feel like a practice. It will feel like your soul's natural language. In this state, the law of mind continues to operate on your behalf, bringing forth limitless expressions of divine wealth that already belong to you. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now is the air I breathe, the truth I live, and the law that governs my ever-expanding good. The final dimension of this work is community and circulation. For wealth to remain alive and expanding, it must stay in motion. Just as a river becomes stagnant when its flow is blocked, abundance loses vitality when it is hoarded, feared, or withheld. Over these 7 days, you have opened yourself to receiving. But the law of circulation reminds us that giving and receiving are inseparable, two sides of the same current. To give with joy and confidence is to affirm your supply is endless. This act creates a space the universe eagerly fills. Giving may be financial, but it can also be time, encouragement, or skill. What matters most is the spirit in which it is offered without strain, calculation, or thoughts of loss. When you give while silently affirming "I receive now," you send a message to your subconscious that you are already full, already supplied, and more than capable of sharing. This thought is a seed, and its harvest inevitably returns to you, often in ways greater than imagined. Within community, this circulation multiplies. Surround yourself with those who speak the language of abundance, who honor your decree, and who reflect it through their own lives. Sharing your experiences and hearing the success of others strengthens your faith in the law and amplifies the group's energy. Early Christian communities called this fellowship koinonia, where each member's good was seen as a blessing for all. To make circulation part of your wealth practice, set aside a portion of what you receive, money, time, or resources, to give in ways that inspire you. Let it be an act of celebration, not obligation. As you give, affirm silently or aloud, "I receive now." This keeps you in receiving mode, even in giving, and prevents the old habit of fearing loss. Over time, giving becomes as natural and joyful as receiving, and the flow between you and the infinite source feels seamless. The evidence of increase will appear not only in your life, but also in the lives of those you touch. This is the highest expression of divine wealth, not just to gather, but to circulate blessings so that abundance becomes visible in the world. Affirmation to carry forward: as I give, I receive. My wealth flows outward with joy and returns multiplied. As this teaching draws to a close, it is time for the final declaration of wealth consciousness. The moment where everything you have learned, practiced, and embodied becomes a single, living reality. This is not just a summary, it is a conscious choice to live as one who knows, not hopes or wishes, but knows that they are in unbroken union with the source of all wealth. In making this declaration, you are not only ending a 7-day journey, but beginning a lifetime of walking in the flow of abundance. To anchor this state, choose a peaceful place where you will not be disturbed. Sit or stand with your spine straight and breathe deeply. With each inhale, draw in the awareness of infinite supply. With each exhale, release every trace of scarcity. Then, speak your decree. I receive now 3 times, slowly and with full awareness, not as a command for something distant, but as an affirmation of what is already woven into your existence. Afterward, close your eyes and reflect on the evidence of this truth in your life, whether through tangible outcomes, new opportunities, inner peace, or subtle shifts in perception. Let gratitude arise naturally as recognition of what has unfolded. You have witnessed the law in action. You have felt your consciousness expand. You have stepped boldly into the state of receiving. Now extend this awareness forward. See yourself moving with calm confidence, ready to receive in every moment. Picture conversations that open doors, investments that multiply, and inspired ideas arriving at the right time. Carry the certainty that you never walk alone in the flow of abundance. With each vision, let the phrase "I receive" now echo, not as a wish or technique, but as the steady rhythm of your life. To seal this declaration, speak aloud. I am one with the infinite supply of God. I live in the flow of abundance. I receive now, and my wealth is ever expanding. Let these words take root within you, sinking deep into fertile ground so that this state remains steady, untouched by outside conditions. From this moment forward, carry this decree as a constant presence in your awareness. Allow it to shape your speech, influence your choices, and guide your expectations. By doing so, you will not only continue to see wealth appear in your own life, but you will also become a living example of what is possible when one aligns their mind with the eternal truth of supply. Most importantly, you will serve as a reminder that divine abundance is not reserved for a select few. It is an inheritance for all who choose to claim it. Affirmation to carry forward. I am one with infinite supply, and I receive now as the unwavering truth of my life. Before we close, I want to leave you with a 21-day wealth covenant, an invitation to root this teaching so deeply that I receive now becomes more than a practice. It becomes the natural language of your subconscious. 7 days are powerful enough to create visible change. But 21 days, the time it takes for the mind to form a new pattern, will make this decree a permanent part of your awareness. This covenant is not just about time. It is a sacred agreement between you, your subconscious, and the infinite source of supply. Here is how it works. For the next 21 days, speak, I receive now, with feeling and awareness at least 3 times daily, upon waking in the morning, midday, as a conscious alignment, and again before sleep. Pair it with at least one short visualization each day. Continue journaling every sign of increase, no matter how small. This is not meant to be rigid ritual, but a living conversation with the law of mind, a rhythm of declaring, receiving, and recognizing. To begin, create a ceremonial start. Write the words, I receive now, at the top of a fresh journal page. Beneath them, write, for the next 21 days, I agree to live as one who receives now in every area of life. I agree to speak my decree with faith, to welcome my good without delay, and to share my abundance with joy. Sign and date it, and if you wish, read it aloud as your first act of covenant. As you continue, expect the law to respond in both subtle and clear ways. You may experience sudden financial inflow, new opportunities where none seemed possible, a release of old worries, or a steady flow of inspired ideas. Each of these signs shows that the decree has taken root. Recording them will not only strengthen your faith, but also magnify the flow. By the 21st day, I receive now, will no longer feel like something you practice. It will feel like who you are. The words will rise naturally in decisions, conversations, quiet walks, or idle thoughts, carrying the full authority of truth that your subconscious has fully accepted. At that point, you will have crossed from hoping for wealth to living in the consciousness of wealth. The law will continue to sustain that state without end. To seal this covenant, speak aloud. For the next 21 days and beyond, I receive now. The flow of divine supply is constant. My life is a testimony to the abundance of God. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now for 21 days and beyond. My wealth is unlimited. As you step into this covenant, envision yourself as a living expression of divine wealth. This is the final stage of our work, not just to speak the words, not only to witness results, but to embody them so deeply that your very presence becomes a declaration. I receive now. When this truth is embedded in your subconscious, it will shine through your actions, decisions, and interactions. You will not need to convince anyone of the law's power. It will be seen in you. Every time you model calm instead of anxiety, generosity instead of grasping, gratitude instead of complaint, You silently teach others the vibration of receiving. People will be drawn to you without always knowing why. Your certainty in abundance will serve as a beacon to those still lost in scarcity thinking. When they ask, you may share these 3 words, not as a trick, but as a sacred key that opened the storehouse for you and can do the same for them. This embodiment is also the surest way to sustain your own flow. The law of circulation works not only through material exchange, but also through attention, intention, and the energy you bring. When you enter a room anchored in, I receive now, you shift the atmosphere. Opportunities cluster around you, conversations turn toward possibility, and resources flow into your hands because you are a trusted channel for their movement. At this stage, the line between practice and life dissolves. You no longer set aside time to step into wealth consciousness. You live from it constantly, whether speaking with a client, making a purchase, helping a friend, or sitting in silence. The undercurrent remains. I receive now. Because your subconscious has accepted this identity, your life will continually mirror that state. Here, divine wealth is no longer something you visit. It becomes your permanent home. The more you embody it, the less you will feel the need to question, to push, or to rush. You will know without doubt that the flow is steady, the supply is endless, and you are always in position to receive. From this place, your life will not only prosper, it will inspire. Affirmation to carry forward. I am the embodiment of I receive now. My life is proof of God's infinite supply. Now we bring this journey to completion with a closing benediction of wealth, a spoken blessing that weaves together every truth you have learned, every shift you have experienced, and every channel you have opened. A benediction is not simply a farewell. It is a consecration of your path ahead, ensuring that I receive now is not just words you say, but the current in which you live. Before you speak it, pause in reflection. Recall the illusions of scarcity you have dissolved, the truths of abundance you have embraced, the testimonies that proved what is possible, and the practices you have made your own. Feel how these lessons are now woven into your being, clothing your consciousness in light. You are no longer who you were when you began. You are a receiver by nature, a living instrument of increase. With that awareness, speak the benediction. Slowly and with intention, I am one with the infinite supply of God. I receive now every form of wealth that serves my highest good. I'm open, I'm ready, and I am grateful. The flow is constant, the source is endless. My receiving knows no limit. From this moment I walk in abundance. I think in abundance, I speak in abundance, and I live in abundance. It is done. It is established. It is now. Let the words sink in, not as a hope, but as a truth you have claimed. Imagine them radiating outward, blessing every area of your life, your work, relationships, finances, health, and home. See the ripple extend beyond you, inspiring others to step into their own receiving. This benediction is both your closing act in this teaching and your first act of life ahead. Carry divine wealth into every interaction and every moment of gratitude. As you do, the law of mind will continue to unfold its perfect work, bringing into form the abundance that has always been yours. Go forward, not as someone learning to receive, but as one who has already received and continues to receive without end, for the source within is infinite, and the channel you have opened will never close. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now, and I live in the unending benediction of divine abundance. Before we part, I leave you with a charge. Share the key. The law of circulation applies not only to money, but also to truth. What you have received here is a seed of immense value. 3 words that can dissolve limitations, rewrite lives, and open long-closed channels. The final act of sealing your wealth consciousness is to pass this seed along, not casually, but with care and love for its sacred power. When you share "I receive now," you are not giving a trick. You are offering a shift of identity, a reintroduction to divine inheritance. Just as your practice was strengthened by hearing others' testimonies, your faith will deepen as you witness this decree in their lives. The law of mind responds to teaching with the same generosity it responds to giving. The more you share, the more you are replenished. Share not by persuading, but by embodying. You need not convince anyone. The law needs no defense. Live the results so fully that your life itself becomes the evidence. When people ask why you are so at peace, why opportunities come to you, why you live with such certainty, then share the 3 words. Share them with reverence, clarity, and confidence that they work when spoken with belief. You may choose to give this decree to a loved one in hardship, a colleague seeking growth, or even a stranger ready for more. When you do, offer not just the words, but the practice, morning, midday, and night, spoken with feeling, journaled with proof, and carried in visualization. In doing so, you bless their life and reinforce your own alignment. And here is the mystery. Each time you share, the key, your own channels of receiving open wider. Giving this truth calls upon the law to pour back into you, often in ways beyond what you gave. This is why ancient wisdom says, "Freely you have received, freely give." In the circulation of truth, all are increased. So let this be your charge. Guard these words as sacred, live them as reality, and share them as gift. In this way, "I receive now" will not end with you, but multiply through you, echoing across lives and generations until divine supply is known as naturally as the air we breathe. Affirmation to carry forward. Freely I have received, freely I give, and my receiving multiplies without end. As an epilogue of remembrance, let this final reflection tie together every lesson, practice, and shift of this journey. We began by facing the illusion of scarcity, uncovering the beliefs that shaped your wealth experience. We then revealed the timeless truths of spiritual law. We unlocked the power of the 3 words "I receive now," each a key, together a formula. For immediate alignment with abundance, you have walked through testimonies of others, witnessed the law's swift response, and practiced the 7-day rhythm of declarations, journaling, and visualization. You learned how to sustain momentum beyond those 7 days, anchoring the decree until it became your identity. You were entrusted with the sacred duty of circulation, allowing wealth, both material and spiritual, to move outward in joy, so it multiplies for all. Now see yourself as both author and audience of your own testimony. A time will come when you look back at the distance between where you began and where you now stand. You will remember the moments you chose "I receive" now instead of doubt, when you realigned at midday instead of feeding fear, when you recorded a small sign that led to greater blessings. These were not small acts. They were the foundation of a life partnered with infinite supply. Carry this remembrance with humility and certainty. Humility because the source is larger than you, eternal and infinite. Certainty because you are inseparable from it. Never again think of wealth as something you chase. It is something you allow. Never again speak of delay. The law responds only to now. Never again fear loss. The source is endless and your channel is open. Let this epilogue be your subconscious command. "I receive now" is my permanent state. The flow of divine wealth is constant. My giving and receiving are in perfect balance. My life is proof of the law fulfilled. Write these words where you can see them daily, not as a reminder to work, but as a celebration that the work is already done. Affirmation to carry forward. I receive now. I live in abundance. This truth is the unshakable foundation of my life.